No matter how much you grow, no matter how many promises you make to yourself, no matter how motivated you feel in the beginning, there's a familiar pull, a quiet force dragging you backward, back to old habits, old thoughts, old reactions, old versions of you that you swore you had outgrown. And the most confusing part? You want to change, you know better, you see the patterns, yet somehow you keep ending up in the same place. It feels like you're trapped, not by circumstances, not by other people, but by your old self. Today, we're going to uncover why this happens, what's really pulling you back, and how to finally break free. Not with hype or shortcuts, but with awareness, discipline, and daily upgrades. Because growth isn't about becoming someone new. It's about escaping who you've been stuck being. Your old self isn't evil. It isn't weak. It isn't trying to ruin your life. It's familiar, and familiarity feels safe, even when it hurts. Your old habits may damage you, but they're predictable. Your old mindset may limit you, but it's known territory. Your old identity may keep you small, but it doesn't challenge you. And the brain loves what it knows. Change threatens survival in the mind, even when change is good. So every time you step forward, every time you try to grow, your old self pulls you back with one simple message. At least here, I know how to survive. Growth demands energy. It requires awareness. It requires restraint. It requires making decisions instead of reacting. Your old self runs on autopilot. No thinking, no resistance, no effort. That's why when you're tired, stressed, overwhelmed, emotional, you don't become your best self. You revert. You don't fall back because you failed. You fall back because your nervous system is overloaded. The old self isn't stronger. It's just cheaper to access. Motivation is emotional. Identity is structural. You can feel inspired in the morning and trapped by nightfall if your identity hasn't changed. If you still see yourself as, I'm not disciplined, I always mess this up, I'm just like this, this is who I am, your actions will eventually align with that identity. Your old self survives because you keep thinking like them. Until identity shifts, behavior will relapse. Every habit you repeat builds a neural pathway. The older the habit, the stronger the path. Your old self has had years of reinforcement. That's why relapse feels instant. That's why progress feels slow. That's why one bad day can undo weeks of effort. You're not broken. You're up against conditioning. And conditioning doesn't disappear just because you want better. It dissolves through repetition, patience, and conscious interruption. Your old self doesn't show up randomly. It shows up when you feel rejected, you feel bored, you feel anxious, you feel lonely, you feel overwhelmed, you feel uncertain, because your old self learned how to cope with those emotions first. And when the emotion returns, the brain reaches for the familiar response. This is why growth without emotional awareness collapses. You can't out-logic emotional conditioning. You must out-practice it. The comfort zone isn't comfortable. It's predictable. It keeps your nervous system calm, but your soul restless. The comfort zone rewards staying the same. And every time you choose comfort over challenge, you strengthen the bars of that prison. Not because you're weak, but because growth always feels unsafe before it feels natural. Your old self lives in the comfort zone. Your future self lives beyond it. When you sabotage progress, you're not being lazy, you're protecting an identity. If you succeed, you'll have to become someone new. If you fail, you get to remain who you know. So the mind chooses the familiar pain over unfamiliar responsibility. Your old self isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect a version of you that no longer fits. Willpower is unreliable. It disappears under stress. It collapses under emotion. It fades when motivation drops. That's why relying on willpower keeps you trapped. Systems beat willpower. Structure beats emotion. Identity beats intention. You don't escape your old self by trying harder. You escape by upgrading how you live daily. Growth is not linear. Falling back doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you noticed. Awareness is progress. Each time you catch yourself reverting, you're closer to freedom. Because unconscious patterns control you. Conscious patterns can be changed. The old self survives in the dark. Awareness turns on the light. Freedom begins with interruption. Interrupt the automatic reaction. Interrupt the old story. Interrupt the emotional escape. You don't need to fix everything. You need to pause. That pause creates choice. Choice creates power, and power weakens the old self. Big transformations fail. Small upgrades stick. The old self is dismantled by consistency, not intensity. One better decision today, one intentional habit, one upgraded response. Daily upgrades rewire identity, and identity determines destiny. Here's the truth most people miss. If you're aware of your old self, you are already separate from them. Awareness is distance. Distance is freedom. The old self only has power when you think they are you. They are not. They are a pattern, and patterns can be broken. Your future self isn't created by massive breakthroughs. They're created by daily discipline, daily honesty, daily alignment. Every day you choose growth over comfort, you weaken the old self. Not overnight, not dramatically, but permanently. You are not trapped forever. You are temporarily conditioned, and conditioning can be rewritten. The pull backward doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're evolving. The old self resists because they sense their control fading. And that resistance, it's proof you're moving forward. If this message resonated, it means you're not here for shortcuts. You're here for real change. On this channel, we don't chase motivation highs. We build discipline. We upgrade identity. We break old patterns daily. Subscribe to Daily Upgrade Motivation for mindset clarity, emotional strength, and consistent self-mastery. Because the goal isn't to escape your old self once. The goal is to outgrow them every single day.